a minute. March, April, May, June. Oh my goodness, it's time for June on the Range! Hello, all my fellow readers. My name's Greg. This is Ghost Readers in the Sky. And it's June on the Range, coming right round the corner. Yeah, it is time for one of YouTube's favorite events, June on the Range. This is an event that was created by Michael K. Vaughn, and we just spend the month of June reading Westerns. We leave that as a pretty broad idea. You can do straight genre fiction of people like Zane Grey and Max Brand and Louis L'Amour. You can branch out in all kinds of different directions. As long as you're reading primarily fiction about the American West, you're in a Western. For this first round of recommendations, I'm sticking with the classics. We're going to start with Owen Wister's The Virginian, often considered the first Western. It certainly sets up the tropes that would identify much of Western literature. So I think we got some great illustrations in this. The illustrations are by Arthur Keller in my particular edition. This is the 1903 first printing, dedicated to Teddy Roosevelt. But this has the cowboy who's a lone guy, quiet, a little standoffish, but always ready to jump in where needed. It has the school teacher from back east who he falls in love with. It has bandits and cattle rustlers and Indian raids and all kinds of things. All the tropes that you would find in Western book and film over the years. Much of it comes from Owen Wister's The Virginian. Second one, Zane Grey, I think, is on most everybody's lists of really people who defined the genre. He certainly borrowed from what Owen Wister did, but he just took it many steps beyond. This is probably his most famous book, Riders of the Purple Sage. This is the Franklin J. Black. I think that's the right publisher. These came out in a mail order service, so you could subscribe to Zane Grey books and get them delivered to your door. It is set in Utah. It is focused around the conflict between Mormons and Gentiles. The way he writes about animals is incredible, particularly horses, and describing what they feel when they run. And you got to read it. Just experience it for yourself at least once. The third book I have to show you is Shane by Jack Schaefer. Jack Schaefer wasn't as prolific of a writer as Zane Grey was. He still wrote quite a few novels, including two great Westerns, this one, Shane, and Monty Walsh. Shane is about a drifter named Shane who comes into a small community that's just getting started. He hires on as help at a small farm with a single family, just the dad and the mom and the little boy. And of course, they're trying to be run off by the cattlemen who want to own all of the range. A very typical conflict that you see from both sides in various westerns, but in this book, it's definitely on the side of the settlers, the nesters. It's a short and quick read. Next book I'm going to recommend is also another one that was made into a great film. This is Elmore Leonard's Hombre. There are some great characters, but the plot is what drives this along. It really just jumps to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, just bim, 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 bim. Keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's really about a stagecoach trip with a lot of different people, including the man known as Hombre. And they get held up by robbers, and all kinds of things happen. This next book is the one that I always recommend for people who have never read a Western and are a bit either intimidated by Westerns or think they just don't like Westerns. This is the one that I recommend they try and see, because if you don't like True Grit by Charles Portis, I don't know if you're ever going to like a Western. True Grit, of course, has been made into a couple of films, one starring John Wayne and one starring Jeff Bridges. Both are pretty good. But the story is told by, and our heroine and our main character in the story is Maddie Ross, who is a teenage girl whose father is murdered on about page 3. And she goes off to seek justice, to find a marshal with true grit who can help her find the man who killed her daddy. Yippee-yi-yay. Hearing it from Maddie's voice in this book. Very short, very quick book. And also, if you like audiobooks, Donna Tartt does a reading of this on audio that is one of the best audiobooks ever. That's it for what I would call traditional Westerns, the ones that really seem to fit in with the genre. But there are also just a lot of great novels that have been written and set in the American West that are worth reading. First, The Octopus by Frank Norris. So this is about farmers and ranchers in Central Valley of California who are being overtaken and beaten down by the railroad with every move. Because the railroad owns so much of the land, it sets the freight rates, it sets so much. There's a railroad commission for the state of California, but it is really bought and paid for by the railroads. It's a great book. It really shows that, it has that Gilded Age feel. It has that the overwhelming, numbing properties of capitalism. How it makes the capitalist just completely unfeeling and stomps all over the regular average people. This was also the inspiration for the BookTube event, March on the Rails. Another great book that's set in the West, and not necessarily a typical genre Western, is Death Comes for the Archbishop by Willa Cather. This is set in Arizona and New Mexico about the time that the United States annexed those states along with southern parts of California and parts of Utah, which had been in Mexico until the Mexican-American War. And so there's a couple of priests who are sent out to run the missions based out of Santa Fe, and just a great novel, a great view of the American West, especially the desert, the different peoples, the indigenous Mexicans, the Native Americans, the white settlers, how they interact with the church and how they interact with each other. Willa Cather is a great storyteller. And when you think of an absolutely huge novel about the American West, I'm sure a lot of people think of Lonesome Dove, just because that gets a lot of talk these days, and that's a good thing. But this thick old book is Centennial by James Michener. Anyway, this is about the settling of early communities in and around what's Colorado now. He has a mythical state that he's building around, but it actually starts with natural history and dinosaurs and the earliest humans who came into that part of America, and but then the stories begin with the fur traders and goes all the way up into must have been the 1970s. I don't remember when exactly this book was written, 77 or something. But it covers a lot, and it covers a lot of the experience with Native Americans, with farming practices, with immigrants. Just a fantastic book. I've read a lot of Michener's books in my life, and Centennial is far and away my favorite. And finally, just to have an outsider's throw in the oddball, a curveball, as it were. If you don't know what a curveball is, you need to watch more baseball. That's a for serious thing. Anyway, this is The Monkey Wrench Gang by Edward Abbey. My edition is the one with the illustrations by Robert Crumb. Fantastic book, a fantastic work of art. This is about a group of what we would now call eco-terrorists who are trying to stop the corporations that are destroying the environment, particularly through the damming of the Colorado River, but through a lot of other things. And so they destroy a lot of equipment. They work on some bridges and some railroad tracks, and it's a fascinating book with great characters, and it in many ways led to the founding of the environmental movement called Earth First. A phenomenal book. Again, not a traditional Western by any means, but one of the great novels of the American West that is often overlooked in that genre. So what am I going to start with? I'm thinking that I will kick off the month of June with All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. I read this book years ago, and all I kind of remember the feeling and the emotion around it, and I remember really enjoying it. I don't remember much of the plot at all. So I think I'm going to go back and read this for my first June on the Range book. And it's the first book in what's called the Border Trilogy. It's there. I may, if I really enjoy All the Pretty Horses, I may try to read the whole Border Trilogy in June, amongst other things. So those are some ideas for June on the Range. Again, very few rules. It's really about sometime in the month of June, reading a Western. I'll be posting updates of what I've read. I'll also be continuing to deliver a lot of cowboy poetry. I hope you can join us for June on the Range. Till next time. My name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky.
Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-oh, the Ghost Riders in the sky.
Everything I do gonna be funky from now on.